football insider, national college football insider from Stadium and Learfield's College Sports Now. And it's Deion all the time in Colorado, all the time, and great storylines coming out of last week's game against Colorado State. So give me your impressions, because I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about coming out of that game.
I mean, huge win for them. It's fantastic to get that win. The other part is obviously we saw the Travis Hunter injury, and we'll see how that picks up, because that's a guy that they probably are going to need, especially on the defensive side. We can talk about everything he's done offensively, but defensively also, this is a guy that they absolutely need, because that defense is still bad. They are 3-0 with a very bad defense, and they're getting ready to have Oregon on that schedule, and that's going to be a really big game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like. Obviously, Deion came out and was, he's doing what Deion does. He's talking that talk. So this will be an interesting one, because it's one of the biggest storylines, and now you've got two teams that are, what are they, in the top 15 at this point, getting ready to play each other. So this should be an interesting ball game.
Did you think the Blackburn hit was dirty?
I don't think see, that's a hard question. I think it was.
Yep.
I think if you ask a wide receiver, it was dirty. I think if you ask most football fans, it was dirty. I think if you ask Steve Atwater or Ronnie Lott, or you ask Rod Woodson, or you ask Ed Reed or Sean Taylor, I think they're like, no, man, that's how we play. Like, we got to send a message. And Bob Sanders, like, I think that's the difference. And as someone who played safety, and it wasn't like he took a big step, and the guy ended up standing up when he hit that. He didn't launch himself, right? Like, he said, hey, man, a drop, I still can take that one step and give you some smoke. And I think that, and obviously Deion said that I forgive him and he made a bad decision, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, for me, I don't think it was dirty. I think it was he did something that I learned. I learned it from, goodness gracious, listening to Bobby Bowden, learned it from other coaches. Like, you play till the echo of the whistle, and you play till there's 2 feet on the chalk. 1 foot on the chalk, you're still gold. So, yeah, I think by today's standards and by the way things are going, yeah, absolutely, probably will be counted as a dirty play. But I don't think he's a dirty player, and I don't think it was that. I don't think it was as egregious a play as it was as vicious a hit. But football's a violent game.
Michael Felder is with Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas. You want to sign up for his weekly column, his newsletter. It's Felder at Substack.com. So it's very interesting, the narratives that are coming out here with Colorado football and Deion. I saw Jamel Hill echoing the sentiments of Louis Riddick, who said, hey, what Norvell did is very damaging because of stereotypes that are applied to African-American coaches. I've also seen Jason Whitlock, and I know the grift there, but he said, hey, these guys are actually the elite. Deion and Colorado are the elite. You root against the elite. Where do you fall on this right now?
I root for excellence, man. Honestly, like, that's one of the big things for me. I'm not like, this. We've been kicking it together for almost a decade now. And realistically, man, I want to see good teams be as good as they can be. I want to see these coaches be as good as they can be as well. I thought Jay Norvell, that team played. That might be it was a loss, but that might be the best game that they play all year. And I think we got to take that into account. I think Deion obviously mentioned the Norvell thing, and he's never going to be upset with that guy, because he's a black guy that's got a head coaching job as well. So I think that there's something to take note in with that. Honestly, I don't agree with rooting against the elite. I really don't, like, with respect to sports. Right. I really listen, I'm all in on Eat the Rich, but, like, fully when it comes to sports, I do want to see excellence, and I think that's why we watch sports, is to see excellence, right? Like, I don't like the Golden State Warriors. I didn't like the Golden State Warriors, from a few years ago, but I did like to watch them operate because they were special. And I think if what we're seeing out of Deion is going to be what actually is, and listen, I'll be fair, I don't love the way he's doing it. I want to put that 2 cents out there. I don't love the way he's doing it. And I also don't love that he gets to talk out of both sides of his mouth. That's a different story for a different day, where he gets to talk about how he has, 87, 90 transfers come in, and we turn this program over, and now we're winning. We're 3-0. But also, he also has done interviews where he said the NCAA has to step in and make sure that high school players can find a landing spot, because why would you take a high school player if you can get a guy out of the portal that you've already got film on at the college level? And I was like, you can't do both of those things. You can't do both of those things. So I got a little bit of a gripe, but realistically, what he's doing is it's unique, it's different, it's special. And so to all those kind of different critiquing, the big thing for me is just he's doing it differently. People don't like that. He's bringing players with him that some folks didn't think could play at the at the Pac-12 level. He's doing it differently. We're going to get to find out a little bit more. For me, and you listen, I like to talk about football, man. I really do, and
yep.
I don't know how sustainable this. They are 125th on defense. And I don't know how sustainable that's going to be in terms of staying undefeated. And it starts this weekend with Oregon.
Yeah, this is supposed to be comeuppance time. The line is 21. Part of me thinks that maybe they can, keep up scoring. But, I mean, this is going to be a crazy, crazy game. We got a total that's exploding in this one of 70.5. What do you think? Is this an absolute boat race? Does Lanning just smash them?
Well, here's the thing, 70.5. So this is the way that I do it. I know I'm not a Vegas guy. You're more in there with that. My buddy Hartzell's more in it with that. But when I hear 70.5, to me, that is a 30. That's a 35-35 football game. And okay, so we got a 35-35 football game. It can't be 35-35, and also somebody wins by 21. So what we're projecting is this idea that Oregon is able to win 35. It can't. I don't know. I don't know how the math, because the math don't math for me. Like if it's 70 points and 21, now I'm like 35 minus 21. That don't get you to 70. So it's going to be interesting to see which one of these things will prevail. I think the over prevails more than the number, more than the spread, because I think Colorado is going to find a way to score. Oregon hasn't really. Obviously, they played the game against Baylor. That Baylor game, they did not. Oregon played Baylor? Who did Oregon play? They played Texas Tech. Excuse me. I got my Utah, my Texas Oregon Tech, lines crossed. Yeah, they played Texas Tech. But that was a game where it was like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? They slowed down a little bit. So for me, I'm looking at this one and I'm thinking, I think both of these teams are going to be able to score. I don't really believe a ton in either one of these defenses. So we're going to see what happens.
Can Florida State go into Death Valley against Clemson and take care of business?
I mean, if you asked me that question when it was 31-10 in the BC game, I'd have been like, absolutely, they're gonna go in there, they're gonna walk the dog. And then when it was 31-29, I was like, oh no, this is bad. And so I think this is gonna be a slog. I don't think it's gonna be a pretty football game. I think Colorado and Oregon will be probably, for football fans that love offense and love crisp, passing and scoring and the whole deal. Colorado, Oregon will be a lot more interesting than the Florida State Clemson game. But I think these are two teams that are going to slug it out. And I love a slugfest. I love to watch guys slug it out. Clemson is going to find a way to make sure they get, make sure they get their guys to football. Antonio Williams is going to have to step up. And Florida State, they got a really good running game, that I think is underrated nationally. We spend so much time talking about Michigan and Ohio State's running game, and we don't talk. I think Florida State's got a running game that's very, very good. So this is going to be an interesting football game. I know it's on the road for Florida State, but I think they've got an opportunity to go in there and get a win.
Tell me what happened with Alabama in the quarterback position last week. So Milroe doesn't play. One of the guys on our show, John Von Tobel, was saying that he thinks he was like secretly suspended. Like it made no sense that he didn't play at all in a game that they struggled and the other quarterback play was not good.
Yeah, I saw that from JVT. I like him. Tell him I said what's up. I like JVT. We used to do some stuff together at Stadium. Here's what I'm going to say. Yes, there's secret suspension. That's a possibility. But I have two other ideas. One is Nick Saban knowing he can win that game with never throwing the football. So he wants to make sure that everybody else, the media, that the fans, everyone that's calling for Ty Simpson and everyone that's calling for Tyler Buchner, he's like, let me show you what these guys can do. And that's what we got. And then two, and I don't know if it's a suspension or not. Could be a suspension, could not be a suspension, but he benches Jalen Milroe, and Milroe is and he's talking to Milroe, and he's saying, this is what we have if you don't go out there and perform. This is what we have. This is what we have. So you need to perform. But I think that obviously the suspension could be a part of it. It could be a part of both of those things. But it also doesn't have to be the suspension. I think it's Nick Saban sending a message like they didn't have to they didn't have to throw the football to win that game. But they forced through the football to make sure that people got that both Milroe and media and fans got the message that everything that you're asking for, that ain't it. Milroe has to be the guy. He is our best option. There was not a play in that game that looked like any of the plays that Milroe has made in the short time that we've seen him. And I think that's the part where Saban is like, so we do need you. So if it's a suspension, it's like, we do need you. So please get your act together. But it's also, hey, stop asking. Please stop asking where the other guys are, because this is what the other guys look like.
All right, what's going to happen with Bama and Ole Miss?
I have no, man. You know, I know you're not supposed to say I don't know, but I love it. Jackson Dart is electric, and obviously Judson is such a good running back, and they've got pieces. But Alabama's defense, I will say this: we talk so much about the quarterback. Their defense is chugging along. That defense, they tackle. I was talking to my buddy, a Texas fan, and he said, "Man, them boys tackle, and when they tackle, it looked like it hurts." And Alabama's defense. Between Lawson and Kool-Aid and all those guys, they will hit you. And so they make it hard, and they make you not want to play that much. And so the interesting thing for me with this game is how much of this looks like the Texas game in the fourth quarter versus how much of this looks like every other quarter that Alabama's played all season. And so that's going to be the part that's interesting to me. But at the same time, if you're Ole Miss, I say, listen, I throw the spaghetti at the wall, man. Let's see what sticks. And just get after it, because if you force Alabama to have to score 35 points, you're going to win the game. And that's what Ole Miss did when they beat Alabama in the past. And we're talking about way better Alabama teams that Ole Miss has beaten or that Ole Miss has pushed to the brink. So I think if you're Lane's going to pull out all the stops. If you're Nick Saban, I think you simplify it on defense and make sure that guys don't make mistakes in terms of exchanges, mistakes in terms of motions and alignment, mistakes in terms of gap integrity. You've got to make sure that your defense is crystal clear on what they're supposed to do, because realistically, Lane Kiffin has already put so many things on film, and that's the thing I love about Lane Kiffin. And he has put so much on film. Even with that huge staff they have, he is going to break your brain with trying to come up with a check for everything and what to expect for everything, because he's also been working on building off whatever you're going to check off.
Michael Felder. It's Felder at Substack.com. Great newsletters throughout the week. So you mentioned Alabama's tackling and how awesome it is. Will officials take it upon themselves to flag them to death and kill their tackling instincts? Because I got to tell you, and it's something you put in your It's Felder, I sat and watched the one of the best defenders for UNLV last week get ejected on a very weak targeting call. And I don't know what the answer is here, because we got bodies in motion. Guys can't change where they're going once they start launching themselves. And the other thing is, I think we're starting to see a little Kenny Pickett from a couple of years ago, where quarterbacks are being taught, you know what, that late slide, hey, if you get a chance, you can get a targeting, so draw a targeting.
Yeah, it's I hate it, honestly. And I don't know what you're supposed to do. I truly don't. And they can say it's for player safety, but every player doesn't get treated the same, because if it's a quarterback, it's one thing. But if it's anybody else, like that Jaden Daniels hit, people will show that in meetings and be like, this is how you tackle. You put your face in his chest, a 6-inch rise and blow so that your helmet goes up to his chin. You wrap up, you run through contact, and you put him in the ground. That's a tackle. And instead, they called it targeting. And I was like, wow, that feels crazy. And then obviously you mentioned the UNLV one. Listen, I go back, I think about the Colorado game and the way that they, like, you mentioned this, quarterbacks getting up and going like, where's the flag? Where's the flag? Where's the flag? Where's the flag? It's almost getting to the level with wide receivers where wide receivers don't even try to fight through contact to get to the football. They just want the contact so they can get the penalty. And it makes me sick, because that's what I love about some of these guys. That's what I love about a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. He fights through contact to get to his goal is to catch the football.
Right.
If contact happens, that's fine. I'll fight through it to get there. That's the thing. I'm not a huge Steve Smith fan, but the thing I always liked about Steve Smith, always admired about Steve Smith, is he would fight through contact to try to get to the football. Same thing with guys like Randy Moss, obviously. Like, I love guys that will fight through to get to the football. I like quarterbacks. Like Cam Rising is not looking for a targeting penalty. When Cam Rising's on the field, and hopefully he gets back on the field here soon, because they're going to need him. But he's not looking for a targeting penalty. He's not asking for one. What did he get his top popped off? Was that in the Pac-12 championship game? Somebody popped his top off, and he got up and was like, "Let's go." And it's frustrating. And then the same thing's frustrating with watching that Colorado State game, the overtime where Colorado State's quarterback runs, and then they call this blindside block, an illegal block on the guy when one guy's already engaged and he sees somebody else, so he steps over and gives the guy a chicken wing. And then all of a sudden they were like, no, hey man, hey, you can't do that. And he's like, but the guy, he saw me coming, he just didn't get out of the way. So I think there's layers to it. And obviously with respect to targeting quarterbacks, I agree with you. I think they are sliding late and expecting guys to stop. I also think that, I mean, even when we look at like interceptions, right? And you go find the quarterback, like everything you ever heard growing up was, listen, when he throws an interception, that guy's not a quarterback anymore. He's now a defensive football player because we are now on offense. Go light him up. They don't want that at all. And then you see quarterbacks in the open field get treated completely different than running backs. Wide receivers, ball in the air, get treated completely different. And here's the thing that I'll say, and this is the last thing I'll say about this. I think we do have to start holding quarterbacks accountable. And Tom Brady said something like this a year or two ago. We have to start holding quarterbacks accountable for throwing hospital balls. Like, it shouldn't be a free-for-all that the defense has to take care of just because you want to throw the ball to this guy, even though you're walking him right into a defender that's going to bust him up. And I think about that with the Travis Hunter thing. Shedeur led him right into that thinking, oh, this guy won't hit him, so it's fine. And the reality is, back in the day, and I don't mean to sound like, old guy yells at cloud, but like those receivers would go back to the quarterback and be like, hey, man, you're going to get me killed. Put it low, put it away, get it to the sideline. Do not get me killed because I still got to make money to feed my family in the NFL. And then obviously now even I still got to be on the field for my NIL. I still got to be on the field to get to the NFL. And so I think that they need to have more of those conversations. And I don't know that coaches are having them with them because they really are getting kind of, cradled and taken care of by the idea that, oh, we'll just get a penalty and it's a first down for us. And then that guy's out of the game. So we don't even have to worry about it.
Michael Felder from Stadium in Learfield is up on Cofield Company, ESPN Las Vegas. He played defensive back at North Carolina. Let's go rapid fire on the last 4 or 5 games here. One, I mean, there are so many angles right now with Iowa State and Oklahoma State. I'll start with this. First of all, Brett Yormark is a genius because he pulled the wool over so many people's eyes during the offseason that the Big 12 was some big, bad football conference on the way without Texas and Oklahoma. And I know it's only 1 year and we're only 3 or 4 games in, but all this nonsense about Big 12 is a better football conference than the Pac-12. No, it is not. Not right now. It isn't. And then you've got Iowa State with Matt Campbell, Mr. 5-star character guy, trying to charge a fan because he's yelling at him a little bit. And then I loved your line about Mike Gundy. Talk about cantankerous. How do you think he feels after, you called him Mr. OAN and, giving it up to USA, South Alabama, just getting whipped? I don't know what the hell is going to happen in this game.
It was bad. It was really bad. Iowa State, obviously you want to talk about a guy missing his window. That's Matt Campbell. This is a guy that turned down the Jets interview to stay at Iowa State. Guess what? He could have been coaching Breece Hall, a former player, if he had taken that job. So Iowa State, they're in a bad way. And obviously they've got the off the field stuff going on too, in terms of the gambling and figuring that stuff out. Oklahoma State. I had to throw it in there, man. I remember that, like the Chuba Hubbard OAN t-shirt situation with Mike Gundy. Listen, he's a true patriot. He made sure that he gave it up for the USA. And so South Alabama did not beat Oklahoma State. They whooped Oklahoma State. That was bad. That kind of shed some light on it. I don't know what to expect from this game, honestly. I know you said you want to go rapid fire. So here's what I'm going to say. I think Iowa State is probably in a better headspace than Oklahoma State, but man, and they're playing at home. This is going to be an interesting one. Goodness gracious.
Power football, I think. Maybe some defense. Utah and UCLA.
Yeah. We'll see if we get a chance to see Cam Rising, and if we do see him, we'll see how healthy he is. If we don't see him, we'll see kind of that two-headed monster that they've been trotting out there. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be fun. UCLA is still figuring out who they are, and obviously young quarterback there. I want to see him continue to get more reps, but they still are not fully sold. So that's going to be the part that I'm watching in this game. But Utah, I mean, they're going to put their hands on you, and I love that. They are a team that is handsy and they fight, and they're going to get after it. So I'm looking forward to watching this one as a game where my guy George Whitfield says styles make fights. And Utah's style is very different than UCLA's. And so we'll see whose style prevails or who can play the other team's style well enough to win.
The Pac-2 title game, Washington State and Oregon State.
Oregon State all the way. I know Washington State has looked pretty good at times this year, but Oregon State, for me, they're a team that we don't talk about nearly enough. That DJ Uiagalelei, the first game after Duke beat Clemson, he's standing over there like he looked like Shaq when Shaq was saying, "Tell me how my taste against to Kobe." Like, it's literally like DJ's like, "You thought I was the bad one? You think I'm bad? No. It's not me. We got some issues structurally at that program." So I think Oregon State, they're incredibly explosive. They also, and this is something for folks that do pay attention to stats, that do like to kind of dig a little bit deeper, they get a lot of stuff done defensively without being very good defensively. And by without being very good defensively, I mean they don't get a ton of sacks. They don't get a ton of tackles for loss. They're not destroying you with turnovers. So they play defense the hard way, where you have to get 3 and outs to win. And that's what they do. These guys get lined up in the right position. They know exactly where they're supposed to be for their gap fits. This is not like luck. This is being good. This is what being good at defense looks like. Like Georgia does the same thing. Alabama does the same thing. They are playing that type of defense where this is not we're bringing a blitz and hopefully something goes bad. This is we line up, we play, and we tackle, and that's how we get off the field. We are not doing something special. All we're doing, Iowa, same way. Wisconsin, when they're good at defense, same way. We line up, we do our job, and we don't ask for help, and we get it done. And if we get a turnover, fantastic. If we get a sack, amazing. But we are built to get you to go 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards punt. And I love that about them.
Michael Felder with us. All right, last 2 Big Ten games. You do your play count each week, and you're tracking the fat, the clock and all that, and plays being reduced in games. Rutgers and Michigan, are they going to combine for like 70 plays?
Yeah, after last week when Michigan ran 44 plays, I was like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Like that felt crazy. I had to go back and double check multiple times to see if I was like losing my mind. Like I was like, This can't be right. 44 plays they ran? How does that make any sense? But Rutgers, this is a 3-0 Rutgers team, man. And honestly, if you're going to play any of the 3 from the Big Ten, I think Rutgers is probably the most comfortable playing Michigan. And we got Ohio State coming into their own. Penn State is very interesting. But I think Michigan is a team, at least if you're Rutgers, you know who they are, right? Like, they're going to give Blake Corum the ball 25 times a game. They're going to ask J.J. McCarthy to throw the ball 18 times, and they're going to ask him to throw it, 12 yards and down most of the time. They're never going to try to stretch you down the field. So you know what you have to do. So it's going to be – I do think that this game – here's what I'll say, and this is the thing I used to say about Alabama before they kind of changed their strategy. I think this is a game that can be competitive for probably 35 minutes. 35 minutes until Michigan's bodies start to wear on Rutgers and the depth starts to show and all that. But for 35 minutes, I think this could be competitive, and that's the part that's going to be really interesting for me.
Same deal on the plays. How does Penn State laying 14.5 kind of blow out Iowa? Is Iowa that bad offensively? They can, can they no plays in a game and it's like 24-3?
Yeah, that's the yes. Right? To answer the question, yeah, like it's crazy. Penn State, because here's the thing. Think about what we've seen the last couple, like what we've seen out of Penn State recently, right? So we look at Penn State, and that Illinois game was not like an instant blowout. It was a slow build, and then Katron Allen starts to wear on you, and you get a little tired. I'm going to tell you what, Iowa's going to be a little tougher than Illinois. I don't know how much tougher, because Illinois, I think, does play. They're trying to start playing good defense, and Bielema's working on that. Iowa's further along in that process, obviously, because of the continuity, the staff continuity. But Penn State, their defense is going to play really well, and that's going to slow Iowa down. That means they're going to get more chances with the football for Drew Aller. And Aller's got an opportunity. I just wonder how many opportunities down the field he's going to get, because with Iowa, if you miss one of those opportunities, I mentioned that with Oregon State, right? 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards punt. But Iowa's the same type of defense. And it's not even 2 yards, 2 yards punt. It's 2 yards, 2 yards, incomplete pass, then punt. And that's where Iowa really kind of reigns supreme on the landscape of guys that, like, they don't have it. There's nobody at Iowa that's probably going to be a first-round draft pick. And I know they had Jack Campbell a year ago. Nobody thought Jack Campbell was going to go in the first round anyway. So it's going to be interesting to see how they shake this out.
That was a good spot. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Oh, that's right. We were going to skip past the biggest name game of the week. I'm going so fast. Thank you. Well, I don't think Ohio State's as good as the last couple of years. Like nowhere close because of the quarterback.
Yes,
but has Notre Dame closed the gap enough with their style to pull the upset?
Here's the thing. I think their style is different than before. And that's a Sam Hartman directive where we're looking at Sam Hartman. And I was so worried because you saw that knee buckle and you saw that guy hit him on the knee. And I was like, oh no, this could be really bad. But he got up and he finished. So we're good. I am looking forward to watching Sam Hartman push the ball vertically down the field. They have thrown the ball down the field 20 plus yards more this year already than they did a season ago for the whole season. This is a team that's willing to push the ball down the field. I think that's a difference maker, especially against an Ohio State team with that Jim Knowles defense that is going to play a lot of cover one and a lot of cover zero. You're going to have guys on an island. Now it's about those Notre Dame wide receivers making contested catches. But I will say this, and I think Ohio State gets the win. I might as well go ahead and put that out there. I think Ohio State gets the win. But when you look at these Ohio State defensive backs, these guys are in attack mode. Lathan Ransom, some of these other guys, they are in attack mode, and that's what I love to see. They seem like they're starting to buy into this defense. You got Eichenberg and Steel Chambers right there in the middle. They don't have someone as good as any of the Bosas or Chase Young coming from the edge, but they do play great team defense in that front four. Even when they go to a three-man front, they play really good defense. So I think they're going to be gap sound in that front seven and that back seven. They're going to make sure that Sam Hartman, they're going to try to take care of business against Sam Hartman. Hartman's going to get it. Notre Dame's going to have 1-2 long pass plays, but the key is going to be they got to score on those pass plays. You can't have it get to the 6. You can't have it get to the 12. You can't have it get to the 20 to 21 and then try to score in that red zone because that field shrinks, and that's where Ohio State has been pretty good.
Dynamite. Thank you, Michael Felder. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Take it.